This week on the Aviators, Curtis heads to Penyan Arrow as we look at why aircraft engines are so reliable.
They're severely over-engineered. There's many redundant systems on these aircraft engines.
Raylene visits the Oshawa Municipal Airport, the world's most female-friendly airport. And I look at buying a used aircraft and all of the things that you can do to make it your own. Previously, Curtis looked at several different types of aircraft available to a potential aircraft owner. Most of them were brand new, and while a brand new factory aircraft may be ideal, for a lot of pilots that may not be the most economical choice. If you're a new pilot or thinking about becoming a pilot, your first aircraft is probably going to be used.
You know, the very day I got my license, I couldn't wait to explore the possibility of owning an aircraft, but I didn't think the time was going to come for possibly years and years, because I thought affordability was really the biggest problem. First and foremost, to me, I thought the greatest barrier would be insurance. So that was the first phone call I made, no kidding, the day I got my license. And I was shocked to find out, with 66 hours under my belt, 1 day as a licensed pilot, that surprisingly for the aircraft that I was considering looking at, the insurance carried quite similar to what I was paying on my car. Well, that convinced me that perhaps ownership isn't impossible.
As far as monthly payment goes, a typical single-engine used aircraft can be very similar to a mid-range sports car. The actual financing process can be a little closer to that of a house, and the cost of an aircraft can be amortized over a number of years. How much these numbers are will all depend on what type of aircraft you go with, which is entirely dependent on what you plan to do with your aircraft.
Probably the most important thing when selecting the airplane for you is to determine what is the mission you're trying to fulfill. When I spoke to my aircraft broker, the person who helped me locate an aircraft, because of course, with no experience, I didn't know how to kick the tires and determine even what I was looking at, so I really needed some support in helping me get steered in the right direction. But the thing that you have to know is, what is the mission of the aircraft? Well, I kept saying 4 guys and golf bags. That was a good mission for me. So really, a Piper Warrior, or the equivalent on the Cessna side, say a Cessna 172, it really doesn't quite fulfill the mission. I mean, they are 4-seat aircraft, but they don't really have the ability to hold 4 big burly guys, golf clubs, and have any fuel in the tanks.
With aircraft, there are several determining factors as far as the price goes. Payload and range are the big factors to consider as far as establishing the different classes or categories for pricing. And as we've mentioned previously, adding a second engine or going with a turboprop could affect pricing significantly. When I upgraded to my current aircraft, however, there were a number of improvements I enjoyed over my previous aircraft.
The Cessna 210. It had the retractable gear I was looking for, which alone picked me up 30 knots of speed. It had the turbocharged engine I was looking for, which allowed me to get 10,000 feet higher than I was used to in the 206. And this particular 210 just happened to be pressurized. That's an added bonus, because normally above 10,500 feet for any length of time, and everyone on board needs to wear oxygen. But in a pressurized aircraft, we don't have to wear oxygen until over 21,000 feet.
But when you buy used, sometimes you'll find yourself making compromises. And with the 210, the color was one of them. But this is one of the many things that you can customize to make an aircraft your own. I had a chance to check out a number of different upgrades at AOPA Summit this past year. And one of the first things I had a look at were micro Vortex generator, or VG kits.
The Vortex generators, they're these little guys. There's small ones and larger ones. When the airflow hits the side of the blade, hops over to fill the low pressure area and spins the air. That keeps it attached longer at higher angles of attack, and the most important thing they do is provide improved control response at slow speeds.
If any of that's unclear, these tiny little fins spread out along the leading edge of the wing, basically decreasing the chances of stalling at low speed, and in turn giving better performance and control during takeoff and landing. They may look like simple aluminum fins, and really they are. But modifications like this to an aircraft require an STC, or Supplemental Type Certificate. This ensures that the aircraft is still considered airworthy and safe to fly. There are lots of things that you can do with your aircraft that will help performance. One small thing I did was add GAMI injectors, which are tuned fuel injectors.
And then there's improvements that have to do with safety. These are called pulse lights, and they make you much more visible. And because they're high-intensity discharge lights, they actually use significantly less power than would a conventional bulb. I actually fly leaving my pulse lights on always. It really increases visibility, and it makes you a lot safer in the sky.
There are also different things that you can do to increase comfort as a pilot. For instance, one of the little things the 210 was missing were transparent sun visors.
You can literally see through these visors with the sun right in your face. To give you an idea of how that works, just pick this up and look at this overhead light right now.
You know, that's a lot like the sun. I mean, you can block that completely with a card or with a conventional visor, but then you can't see through it, obviously. And with this, I can look directly at that light and everything around it, and I mean, it's possible with this.
Now, one of the biggest areas that you can upgrade in a used aircraft is the instrument panel. The great thing about this is that you can do things in small increments, changing out or upgrading instruments one by one. Or you can take a big plunge and change out the entire steam or vacuum gauge system for an all-glass panel, which is exactly what's going to happen to the 210. But you'll have to look out for that in the future.
Now, there's still a lot of improvements I'd like to do to the airplane, but even with these little modifications that I've done to start, I'm now feeling that the airplane is truly mine. So really, all that's left to do is let's go flying.